Welcome back to the pod. Today we have another very experienced
esteemed guest.
Esteemed guest, even. Gordon Webb, our manager of our Richmond office and well-known local real estate salesperson. Gordy, welcome.
Thank you.
And let's give a little bit of a history. Before how long have you been in real estate for?
21 years.
21 years. That's almost as old as you, Callum.
Yes.
What did you do before you got into real estate?
Started as a mechanic, actually. Did 10 years as a mechanic and then went to a courier contracting business, which was probably the hardest I've ever worked in my life, but it was very, very good when it was new in the industry.
Yep.
Had probably 15 years in that, then set up a tourism business, and then after that got into real estate. Yeah.
Wow.
Tourism business.
There's a bit of a journey, isn't there, eh? Mechanic,
Courier.
Yeah.
tourism, real estate. We could write a book.
Well, they often say that people with, broad life experience make great real estate agents because you have to deal with a lot of different people from different experiences.
Yeah.
We've got to like people for a start.
Yeah, well, you do have to like people when you think about those roles that you've had. You're always dealing with people, aren't you, ultimately? So you're a people's person.
Yeah.
If we go into your real estate career, where did you start?
Started in Motueka. There wasn't any room in the Richmond and Nelson offices at the time. We were chock-a-block. So,
and it was with Summit. You've always been with Summit.
Yep. Yeah. I lived in Marpur, so it was either Richmond or Mott, and went to the Mott office and had 10 very good years over there. It's it was a great place to do real estate. I got Rookie of the Year the first year.
There's three of us here that did that.
Runner up in the company's second year, and then topped it for 4 years after that, I think.
So you were the top salesperson in all of Summit.
Yep, out of Motueka.
Yeah, 4 years in a row, maybe more.
Yep.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
And you were based in the Mott office.
Yep. It's into a lot of rural lifestyle, specialist type property. So that was pretty good to me. I enjoyed that more technical basis side of it.
Sort of a niche market.
Yeah, it was.
You were the go-to.
Yep, pretty much. And operating out of Marpur as well was, Marpur was a high growth area, still is.
Yeah, it still is, obviously. Yeah. It's good. So good grounding.
Yeah, good grounding.
Good grounding. So you were in Motueka for 10 years.
Yep.
And then you are now currently the manager of the Richmond office.
Yep.
So how long have you been the manager of the Richmond office?
Yeah, well, last awards was my 20-year mark. I think it's about, it was 20 and a half years, so I've been managing 10 years or a bit over.
So when you left the Mott office, you went straight to Richmond as the manager? So you've been managing there for 10 years?
Yep.
I imagine you've seen some people come and go.
Yeah, a lot of people come and go, and a lot of people stay as well. I mean, Summit has got a core group of people that have been here a very long time.
We do, eh? We do.
Yep, yeah. If you look at the list, there's a lot of people over 10 years, and there's a lot of people getting close to 20 years of service. So
there's a lot of experience.
There's a lot of experience.
A lot of experience, but it just shows you the culture of the company as well, doesn't it?
Yep.
People enjoy working for Summit.
Yep.
And, I've been 7 years now.
Yep.
Callum's coming up
4.
5.
I'm coming up 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez.
Doesn't time fly when you're having fun, buddy?
Yeah.
So, and then we've seen within that time period, it's a great family sort of culture.
Yeah, I think the depth is, from the top, Alistair being, 40 years in real estate now, and, all the management team have got lengthy experience in different fields as well, so it does make a big difference.
It makes a huge difference, and I think for the people that are out there listening and watching, it's giving them a little bit of peace of mind, that knowing that, at Summit you have fully qualified managers, but a lot of the managers have a lot of history and experience in the real estate field.
Well, I think that's where we leave the competition for dead, to be fair. I mean, we have got effective control in each office. We're not remotely controlled by a Christchurch or a regional
or
manager.
Auckland, someone.
And our systems are based around effective control in each office. So,
you quite often get arguments from those smaller companies that you don't need these big offices all around. We all work from home and that sort of thing. But where's the support when you're at home? I know that coming in, especially as a new agent, and there's always questions, doesn't matter how experienced you are, different situations that come up. I know for the last month I've spent a lot of time with you in very unique situations where things get a little bit difficult, or you're trying to problem solve, and sitting down with you and you go, well, I've come across the same thing 13 times in my career or whatever. I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get that anywhere else.
No, and I think in anything, to be successful at anything, you've got to have coaches, you've got to have mentors, and you know, when you stop learning, you're dead. I mean, I'm learning every day. I've been in the business a long time, but we're all learning all the time.
Absolutely.
And the depth of our management team gives us those sounding boards, and the depth of our sales team. We've got some very experienced salespeople as well. So, you know, it's good for the newer guys coming in to have that depth. And
I feel like we've got a pretty good mix.
Yeah,
you know, we've had quite a few new people, men and women, come into the company over the last few years, and you mix that with the experience. There's a good team atmosphere going on.
I think that's where you see the accelerated growth as well. You know, people do. If they've got the work ethic and they've got the big enough why, they will seek out and find the people to expand their careers quickly, and that's what Summit does. That's the benefit I had when I first started was, you know, we share a lot of information with the company and the individuals, even though we're competing with each other on a daily basis as salespeople. It's an open format for people to share information and ideas, and I think that benefits everybody. I mean, ultimately, we want the best result for our vendors. So,
and I think that's the key thing, is that we all work as a team to get the best result for the sellers or the vendors.
Well, yeah, you see the All Blacks go on the field, it's not just one player against 15, it's the whole team, and all the management team behind it, the whole, you know, that's what makes a great team.
It's the whole, it's not just on, it's the off as well.
You know?
And talking about new people and coming into real estate, it is a difficult industry to come into for multiple reasons. Let's talk about, firstly, what makes a good real estate agent in their first year or two? What is it that you've seen? You've seen so many people come and go and stay for long periods of time. What is it that makes a good real estate agent, especially in those first couple of years?
I think it's the ability to have an open mind and be like a sponge, suck up the material that's in front of you. Or, you know, I mean, until Glenn started, I had the record for the most questions ever asked, I think. You know, Glenn was the same, and I think you see people with good work ethic, open mind to learn, and systems and procedures. It's hard work. There's no question about that. I mean, it's
rewarding, but you get rewarded for hard work.
Yeah, and you know, I think people underestimate the amount of hours and that you do put into the job to be successible at it. I mean,
absolutely.
Anybody can sell a house that's selling them well consistently. Definition of a good agent is how to deliver bad news well. We can tell people what they want to hear, or you can tell them what they need to know, and they can make informed decisions. That's always been my philosophy. You don't get all the jobs all the time, because some people like to be told what they want to hear, but you do gain respect over time, and you grow your career.
And on the flip side of that, you've probably seen plenty of people come in and struggle and not too well. Is there any sort of common themes around why someone would start and not really get off the ground?
To me, it comes back to two things: work ethic. So you've got to have a high work ethic and be able to do that, I suppose, in a self-disciplined manner. So if you see somebody like Lynn comes through after a career in golf and a lot of discipline training, as far as you've got to do this to get that, that's when you see people excel. If people are disjointed with that process, then and they haven't got the work ethic, then they will fail, unfortunately.
Because it's a lifestyle thing, and the tempting part about it is, you know, especially our culture, no one's breathing down your neck to turn up, no one's checking when you turn up, so it's all down to you, really. You could take the whole week off.
Well, you're self-employed, and that can go into any business. If you're in a lawn mowing business and you're self-employed, you can find an excuse most days not to go and mow a lawn. But you know, the reality is, come rain or hail, you should be doing the same thing every day to expand and grow your business and service the clients you're looking after. They treat us or give us a great deal of trust, and we need to repay that.
Well, it's huge,
knowledge.
isn't it? Because people are entrusting us with their biggest asset, generally,
Yeah.
to sell their biggest asset,
Yeah.
and to have their best interest at heart.
Yeah.
So, you've got to take that serious. You've got to put.
You do, and you need to be the expert in that property, and you need to know more about it than the owner does, and you need to know more about it than anybody else does if you want to sell it, and you sell it well. I mean, often people looking from the outside might criticise us in finding out all the negatives of a property, but it's much more important to know the negatives to be able to explain those and quantify them to people than it is to explain the positives.
Because positives are normally
positives are fairly
everyone can
obvious.
see the positives.
Yeah.
Everyone can see the positives.
Yeah. So it's knowing the product really well, and knowing who the buyers are for that product, and not all properties suit the same people. So and there's a lot of emotional, I suppose. Emotional load on both the seller and the buyer. We're dealing with people at very stressful times in their
It's
lives.
the most stressful thing people do, isn't it? Isn't that what they say? The most stressful thing you'll ever do in your life is sell your home.
Yeah, and it can
we're
become
involved with that.
It
on
can
a daily
become a lot
basis.
more stressful than it needs to be.
We see it often.
The more information you got, the better off you are.
So we've talked about this a couple of times, just to change the topic a wee bit. There's a lot of agencies at the moment getting quite tech savvy, and probably too tech savvy for the better of the actual client's best interest. And what I mean by that is real estate's pretty simple. It comes down to people, and then actually building a relationship with the vendor, but also importantly the buyer, so that when it comes down to negotiation table, and I say table because we want to actually be in front of people, and there's a lot of slack real estate happening now. We can see it quite a bit now, where people aren't necessarily getting in front and eyeballing people and trying to get the best deal together. Can you talk a wee bit about that and the importance of actually those relationships?
Well, I think it's very hard to do, even like we're doing here on the telephone or remotely, when you're sitting in front of people and you're watching the reaction that's coming back, and you're gauging where they're at and their motivation for it. Most business we do is done in the hate zone. Neither party want to be there. The purchaser doesn't want to be in the zone we've got them in, and the vendor doesn't want to be in the zone we've got them in. So when you're in the hate zone, you need to be feet on the ground and in front of people, because texts and written communication can be misconstrued very, very easily.
It's human nature to take the negative
It
angle
is.
of something.
Yeah,
isn't
we
it?
can all read something.
That's why
and
you add
finish up.
so many emojis into your texts.
I'm the emoji king, mate. Everyone knows I'm having a great time.
But it is, different contexts can be taken from the written language, and when you've got tone and body language involved, then you've got a far better idea of where people are at.
Oh, you can read people a lot.
Yeah, and whether it's a purchaser or a vendor dismissing an offer or dismissing what might be in an offer, then you've got the ability to be able to quantify that. And human nature is, look, we don't want to go there, full stop, put the phone down. Whereas if you're sitting there and you can go through it with them and find out what their real concerns are, you're going to give a much, much better idea of where people are at.
I think we all know it's harder for people to say no face to face than just on a phone.
Yeah, I suppose it's really finding where their comfort zone is, or they might be saying no, but is it to the whole thing, or is it just one segment of what the problem is? And
when you're not sitting with someone and you're talking to them about it, they don't generally have the full understanding of what it is.
No, they don't.
But when you can be sitting with people face to face, you can actually explain it, and if they don't understand it, they're more likely to say, I don't actually understand it. Can you explain that more?
Yeah.
Where on the phone, they'll just,
Yeah. Even with regards to a builder's report, I've had a builder come off a ladder before and say, hey, look, there's a lot wrong with this house, and I don't know whether the purchase will be going forward. And well, can you quantify that? Can you put it in dollar terms or even estimate it? Because that's the number we need to talk about.
Correct.
What is the fix? Is it fixable? And are people prepared to meet the middle on it?
Make the deal happen.
Without that interaction, that deal's dying. And, a lot of people or a lot of agents think when you get something in contract, the deal is done. It's probably about 30% of the deal.
Stop
done.
open homes,
Yeah.
forget about it
shut
till
down.
due date, and then
Yeah.
you get an email from the solicitor. It's fallen over on 7 different things,
Yeah.
and you had no idea because you weren't communicating.
Exactly.
Weren't building those relationships with the people.
Yeah.
So for us, until the property settles, the deal still isn't done,
It's
and
not
we
done
follow
until
it
it's-
until it settles out
So
of
we
the
get
system.
that nice email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you've been running the most successful office in Summit for a number of years now. I'm not sure how many years Richmond's been number one
I
now.
think about 5 or 6.
5 or 6 in a row. What do you think it is that, why is it that our office is just pumping along? I think a great deal of it's down to having a strong leader like yourself, but what would you say has been the keys to its success over the last... All the offices are very good, but we're just
We would be.
we get the trophy.
Look, I suppose I pride myself in having frank conversations and people being able to interact in the same way with me, and every day's a new day. So if we've had a debate or a difference, then it's sorted and left behind. It moves on, and I mean, normally. I could be challenged on this, but I think anybody that's left the Richmond office has left because they think real estate's not for them or haven't been able to to find their groove, as it were. We give whatever support's needed, but we can't do the job for people. We can be with them and hold their hand.
Comes down to that self-motivation.
It comes down to that work ethic and structure and discipline.
Yeah.
And I think from a vendor's point of view, knowing that on every Tuesday you got a team of it must be 12, 13 qualified agents sitting around a table and talking about the market, because the market changes every week.
Yep.
And we're always brainstorming on how we can help solve each other's problems with trying to get properties sold for our clients. And again, that's something that's unmatched in any other company, I think, is the sheer volume of that
Share of knowledge.
collection of people actually working together to help each other solve problems.
Well, I think that's where the team does come in. I think that's what Summit is very, very good at, because you guys know you can ring any other manager in the company, you can ring the owner of the company. There's no obstacles to. You're not going to offend me or anybody else if you want an opinion or a second opinion. And I think that open and honest communication is key to a great team. And if everybody knows what their role is, and
I think it's huge, that there. And I know from when I started, I was a pain in your backside, probably, to be fair, as a manager.
it was quite refreshing, actually, because normally you run around saying, what do you need? But you were coming in telling me what you needed, so that's great.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm that sort of person. I want to learn,
Yeah.
and I continue to learn, and I'm just going to ask you a lot of questions and get the answers, and then take that on board and go.
Yep.
Right, but you're always open to that.
Yep.
You're always available to that, and I know there's other, I guess, situations where people don't have a manager, so they don't. I don't know how they learn. I don't know how they can get better. I don't know how they can.
Or
It'd be quite a lonely, stressful place, I would say, because real estate is stressful. I mean,
the
a lot of
mental
challenges.
load, and when you're dealing with something that this is getting me down, that sort of thing, you can offload it, you can download it and process it quickly. Now I've got to pick myself up and go to an open home on a Sunday and be the most happy, energetic person in the world.
Yeah.
Being able to process that with someone like yourself is.
I know personally. I mean, I wouldn't be in the position I am now in my real estate career without your mentorship and guide.
Yeah,
I mean,
well-
I've learned so much from you as our manager and now as a friend. It's you can't put a dollar value on it. It's just
But I
just
think
an
that
amazing
is
setup.
I think that is part of the culture. I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at the way Alistair has run the company over the years, and his door's always open. And,
absolutely.
He can make black and white decisions. We don't always like
No,
the
we don't.
decisions that he makes, or for that matter, sometimes the decisions I make. But there's enough respect there to go, okay, fair
Exactly.
call.
there's so much knowledge behind that decision that you've got to respect it.
But that's what you're there for, because you want an answer normally.
Correct.
So.
Exactly. You don't always like the
You don't
answer.
always like the answer.
But you've got to always try, right?
Yeah,
You've got to
right.
find.
But that's how we grow.
Look, just having a quick overview as being a manager, what are your key roles? So people that are listening, as a manager of a real estate office, what do you actually do?
Well, I suppose effective control is the first thing.
Yep.
So we have legislation that we've got to follow closely, and that is everything needs to be done as per the legislation. That's from appraising properties to negotiating and settlements and trusts.
So everyone's compliant.
Everybody's compliant for a start.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got the day-to-day coaching and
supervision
of people that are there. And I suppose it gets there's a lot more public inquiry than there used to be. I mean, people are a lot more informed of what their rights are, and they don't always get those right. They might read some legislation or get some advice from a friend. We tend to get a lot of calls, from mainly from purchasers that might not be satisfied with the process because they've had to wait for a response, or they don't understand the process, or they missed out, or whatever. So, there's and I think we covered at a meeting the other day. As an industry, not as a company, as an industry, I think complaints are up about 40% over this quieter period. So there's a lot more disgruntled people because properties aren't selling, and they want to know why they aren't selling. And if we're reporting properly and we are communicating properly, then it shouldn't be an issue. But people miss out. And they want to know why.
I mean, we get very little complaints in our office.
As a company, no.
And as a company and in our office. And we put that down to, obviously, your leadership in a way that to make sure we are all compliant and are all doing the right thing.
Yep.
Because you check everything that we do to make sure that we are compliant with the REA.
Yep.
So
We've
there
got
shouldn't be any complaints.
systems and processes.
And you control those, basically.
When you say complaints might be the wrong word, there's a lot of inquiry on process because people don't understand the process. You've got to remember, when people are buying or selling, they might have only done it once before, or they might not have done it ever before.
And it might have been 20 years ago.
So, if you tell them something and they're not 100% sure, or they haven't got the right answer out of you, they might give the manager a call and say, hey, look, I'm just inquiring about X, Y, Z. Can you fill us in on the details? Well, it doesn't happen every day. That happens, and particularly in a quieter market, when you might have a multi-offer, 7 or 8 offers, and somebody misses out and they can't understand why they've missed out when it's a quiet market. So there's lots of reasons why people have questions, and information's a powerful thing,
isn't it? What is the thing you probably get the most frustrated by, or the thing you probably dislike the most about being a manager of an office?
Oh, there's not many things frustrate me that much.
No, this is always a curly one.
Of Teflon, this guy.
It's always a curly one. You've got to ask the question.
I suppose what we do isn't rocket science. If you follow a process and you communicate it well, then people should have a full understanding of where they're at in relation to the market. So
maybe the frustration of people not doing what they should do.
It's frustrating sometimes when they might be told by somebody else, a friend or a neighbour, that they're doing it wrong, and
the old neighbour.
There's nothing wrong with double checking the process, though. I think it's when people aren't listening to the feedback that's coming from the market, then it can lead to a poor result.
Poor result and frustration. Cool.
So you get to the end of the process, you don't really feel like you've achieved the best because you've had your hands tied to a certain degree.
So I think we could be here all day.
Yes.
And the reality of it is, I think everyone who's listening and watching can see how passionate Gordon is about real estate, and how lucky we are to have you as our manager and as our mentor, and the confidence it should give the marketplace in Nelson, Tasman, knowing that you are our go-to and our leader of, not only at the Richmond office but within the Summit family. So, mate, thanks very much for everything you've done for me and for Callum and for Team Delaney and for all of Summit, mate. You're the rock of Summit, and look forward to continuing to work with you, mate.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's the greatest job in the world.
Cool. Good man.
Cheers, Gordon.
Okay, cheers.